Small towns hide the darkest secrets. Behind the friendly smiles and quaint storefronts lies something most travelers never see. The shadows that only locals know about. I've spent the last 3 months collecting stories that small-town residents whisper about only after dark. Stories they've documented, stories with evidence, stories that have haunted communities for generations. What I discovered was more disturbing than I expected, because unlike urban legends from big cities, these small-town horrors have something uniquely terrifying about them. They're impossible to escape when everyone knows your name and exactly where you live. Tonight I'm sharing 5 true small-town legends that local authorities have tried to suppress. Stories so deeply embedded in these communities that some residents have installed security cameras just to prove what they've seen. Before we continue, I should warn you, once you hear these stories, you'll never look at small-town America the same way again. The first story comes from a mining town so small it doesn't appear on most maps. What makes this account particularly chilling isn't just the whistling figure that appears in the fog, it's the 70 years of documented newspaper evidence I'm about to share with you. The Whistling Man in 1952, the small mining community of Coalridge suffered a devastating collapse that trapped 12 miners nearly 400 feet below ground. After 3 days of desperate rescue efforts, only one man emerged alive. James Harker, a 27-year-old father of 2, told rescuers something that the mining company tried to keep from spreading. He claimed that after the collapse, in complete darkness, he heard whistling, a distinct melody, echoing through the tunnels. Something about it felt wrong, unnatural, but with no other options, he followed the sound until he found a narrow passage that led him to safety. The other miners had gone in the opposite direction. The town celebrated Harker's miraculous survival, but within weeks, residents began reporting a tall, thin figure appearing in the fog-covered streets at night, always whistling the same haunting melody. But what the mining company didn't reveal until 2018 was that they had found something in that collapsed tunnel, something they immediately sealed away and refused to discuss. And that's when the whistling changed. The town's historical society maintains a collection of newspaper clippings documenting whistling encounters spanning 7 decades. Most disturbing are the patterns that emerge. The Whistling Man appears most frequently before tragedies strike. 3 separate families reported hearing the distinctive whistling the night before a flash flood devastated the town in 2018. 7 people died, all from homes where no whistling was heard. Local resident Mary Chambers installed a security camera on her front porch in 2020 after repeatedly hearing whistling outside her home. What she captured has never been fully explained. A tall, impossibly thin figure, visible only as a silhouette in the fog, standing completely motionless for 3 hours. No whistling was recorded on the audio, but Mary claims she heard it clearly the entire time. 2 days later, her neighbor's house burned down. The cause was never determined. While researching the Whistling Man legend, I discovered something unexpected. A pattern of similar phenomena across small towns within a 200-mile radius, but none was as well documented as what happens on a lonely stretch of Route 16, where over 50 drivers have filed police reports about the same impossible encounter. The Vanishing Hitchhiker of Route 16. Route 16 is a 20-mile stretch of 2-lane highway connecting the towns of Millfield and Cooperston. Since 1973, drivers have reported picking up the same teenage hitchhiker, a girl in a white dress, who asks to be taken to an address in Cooperston. The encounters follow an identical pattern. The girl appears on rainy nights, always at the same curve in the road. She speaks little during the ride, except to provide the address, and occasionally mention that she's late getting home. Upon arrival at the address, drivers discover their passenger has vanished from the vehicle. When they inquire at the residence, they learn it's the entrance to Hillview Cemetery. Local records confirm that in 1973, 16-year-old Sarah Mitchell was struck and killed by a car while walking home along Route 16 during a rainstorm. She was buried in Hillview Cemetery. The most disturbing part of this case isn't that the hitchhiker vanishes, it's what happened when a local filmmaker tried to document the phenomenon in 2021. The footage they captured showed something no one expected to see in the back seat of their car. The filmmaker Daniel Reeves set up 3 cameras in his vehicle, and drove Route 16 on the anniversary of Sarah's death. He didn't pick up any hitchhikers that night, but when reviewing the footage later, he discovered something chilling. In the backseat camera view, for approximately 16 frames, a young woman in white is clearly visible, staring directly at the camera. What makes this footage particularly disturbing is that the woman's face is partially obscured by what appears to be severe trauma consistent with a high-impact vehicle collision. Police in both Millfield and Cooperston maintain special files on the phenomenon, with over 50 documented encounters sharing nearly identical details. Officer Raymond Pierce, a 30-year veteran of the Cooperston Police, admits that he encountered Sarah himself in 1989. "I don't believe in ghosts," he stated in a 2022 interview, "but I can't explain what happened that night, and I've never driven Route 16 after dark since." Some small-town legends can be dismissed as mass hysteria or shared delusion, but the backward-walking man of Lakeville presents a unique case because of one critical factor. Modern security technology has captured what shouldn't be possible. The backward-walking man Lakeville, population 1,243, is the kind of town where everyone knows everyone, which makes the backward-walking man all the more disturbing. Since the 1940s, residents have reported encounters with a man who walks backward through the streets between 2-3 a.m. The figure never speaks, and always wears clothing consistent with 1940s fashion. Historical research revealed that in 1943, a local man named Thomas Weldon returned from World War II with severe PTSD. He developed a peculiar condition where he could only walk backward. Medical records from the time describe it as a psychosomatic response to trauma experienced during combat. After being institutionalized and subjected to experimental treatments, Weldon escaped and was found dead in the town square. The official cause of death was exposure, but rumors persisted that his treatment at the institution was responsible. The sightings began shortly after his death. When police analyzed the security footage frame by frame, they discovered something that defies explanation. In each frame where the backward-walking man appears, the timestamp shows a different date, as if he's somehow walking backward through time itself. In 2022, security cameras from 3 different businesses captured the backward-walking figure on the same night. The footage shows a man in period-appropriate clothing moving smoothly backward through the snow-covered streets. But when police investigated, they found no footprints where the figure had walked. The owner of a local bakery, whose security camera captured the clearest footage, reported that the digital files became corrupted within days. Only screenshots remain. Most disturbing is the testimony of night shift worker Alan Meeks, who encountered the figure in 2019. He was walking backward up Main Street, but his head was turned so he was looking right at me. When I called out, he stopped. Then he smiled. I've never seen a smile like that before. It wasn't human. Meeks quit his job the next day and moved out of Lakeville. Not all small-town horrors involve spectral figures. Sometimes the most terrifying phenomena are the voices that come from places where no one should be. The frozen pond incident is particularly disturbing because of what researchers recorded beneath the ice. The frozen pond voices in the northern town of Pine Hollow. Residents avoid Miller's Pond after dark during winter months, for good reason. Since 1932, people who venture near the frozen pond report hearing children's laughter and calls for help coming from beneath the ice. Historical records show that in January 7 children from the town drowned when the ice broke during a skating party. The youngest was just 6 years old. Since then, locals who live near the pond report hearing distinct voices calling their names on cold winter nights. Some have seen small handprints appear in the frost on their windows. The town library maintains a collection of journals from residents dating back decades, all describing nearly identical experiences. The audio analysis revealed something the human ear couldn't detect. Beneath the children's voices was another sound, a rhythmic pattern that linguists identified as a language that predates the town's founding by centuries. In 2019, a university research team conducted an investigation at Miller's Pond. They placed high-sensitivity microphones beneath the ice, and recorded for 72 hours. What they captured has never been fully explained. Clear audio of children's voices, with no source present. More disturbing was what sound analysis revealed. Beneath the audible voices was a low-frequency sound pattern that linguistics experts identified as having speech-like qualities in a language pattern inconsistent with any known language. Dr. Eleanor Simmons, who led the research team, noted that the pattern had similarities to pre-colonial Native American languages, but with structural elements that don't match any documented language. The land where Pine Hollow now stands was uninhabited according to historical records before European settlement. The indigenous tribes of the region reportedly avoided the area for reasons they wouldn't discuss with early settlers. Local resident Thomas Gardner, whose home overlooks the pond, installed cameras after repeatedly finding small handprints in the frost on his windows during winter. "The cameras don't catch anything," he reported, "but the handprints still appear, always on the coldest nights, always 7 sets, always facing the pond." Our final story centers on something thousands of small towns have made, a portrait of a historical figure hanging in a public building. But what makes this particular portrait different is what happens when no one is watching, or at least when they think no one is watching. The mayor's portrait in the town hall of Grantsville, population 950, hangs a portrait of Mayor William Garfield, who served from 1897 to 19. At first glance, it's unremarkable. A stern-faced man in late Victorian attire, staring directly at the viewer. Town hall employees report that the portrait's eyes seem to follow visitors across the room. But this optical illusion is just the beginning of the strange occurrences. Historical records show that every mayor who has attempted to remove the portrait has died within a year of taking office. 7 mayors, 7 deaths, all within 1 year of attempting removal. In 1978, when the town hall was damaged in a fire, the portrait was the only item found completely untouched, not even smoke damage. In 2023, a graduate student conducting research on the portrait made a discovery in the town archives that changes everything we thought we knew about Mayor Garfield. A series of sealed documents revealed why the town has been unable to remove his watchful presence for over a century. The documents, sealed until 2020, revealed that Garfield was never actually elected. The real elected mayor disappeared under mysterious circumstances just before taking office. Garfield appeared in town the same day, claiming to have been elected despite no one recalling him being on the ballot. Most disturbing are the reports from cleaning staff, who claim that late at night, the figure in the portrait sometimes changes position or expression. In 2020, a security camera captured the portrait falling off the wall and landing perfectly upright on the floor, despite there being no earthquake or disturbance. When the current mayor, Rebecca Winters, ordered the portrait to be placed in storage in 2021, she began receiving anonymous letters containing details about her private life that no one could have known. The portrait was returned to its place within a week. Mayor Winters refused to discuss the contents of the letters, but has been observed nodding respectfully to the portrait when entering the room. These 5 stories represent just a fraction of what I've uncovered about small-town legends across America. But there's one final detail that connects all of these cases, a pattern I only noticed after mapping each location. What these towns form when connected on a map is something that has disturbed me so deeply that I've hesitated to share it until now. If you draw lines connecting these 5 towns on a map, they form a perfect pentagon. At the center is a small unmarked area that appears on no official maps. When I attempted to visit this location, my GPS malfunctioned. My car broke down exactly 5 miles from the calculated center. As I waited for a tow truck, I heard whistling coming from the woods. I didn't stay to investigate. If you've experienced similar small-town legends, or have information about any of these stories, leave a comment below. But be careful what you share. Some secrets are kept hidden for a reason, and some small towns don't like outsiders knowing their business. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more true horror stories from places most people never think to look. Until next time, drive safely, and maybe stick to the main highways.